Hello and welcome. Second try, art fight attack. So I have cut out this piece of fabric. As you can see, it is a rectangle. This is the fabric that you'll need. This is the first step you'll need to do. The exact dimensions are, my ruler was upside down, 23 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And what you're going to want to do is on each of the sides, on the two long sides, you want 1 centimeter of seam allowance. And then on the short sides, you want 2 centimeters seam allowance. So you're going to need to cut this out, and then you will need to fold this in half, wrong sides facing each other, which I've already done with this other piece of fabric because that piece of fabric was not working with my machine. So after you've done this step, you need to take it and turn it inside out. I'm going to go do that real quick. Okay, so you now have a tube with all the raw edges on the inside. There will be two sides to it, the unsewn side and the seam side. So what we're going to want to do with this next, just to make it usable and also have no raw seams, is we are going to want to French seam this. So we are going to take it wrong sides together, fold it in half like so, and we will use 1 centimeter of this seam allowance. I will be back once I've done that. Okay, now that that is sewn, what you're going to want to do is trim this by half. So I'm going to put this down for a second. That should be around half a centimeter of seam allowance. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip this with one hand because the other hand needs to be used for recording. Never mind. You're going to flip this so that this wrong edge is tucked in here like that. And now we have the two wrong sides facing outwards. And we are just going to sew 1 centimeter away from this edge. So I'm going to go do that. Okay, so that has been folded and sewn. Now we have a pretty much clean tube. I mean, you can see a little bit of fraying from there, but not enough that the garment will rip apart. So what we are going to do now is fold this right side out so the seam is on the inside where it should be. And we are going to see the seam side. This seam side will be the top edge of the dress. What we're going to do is, I'm just going to use plain thread, but you are supposed to use embroidery thread if you can. And we are going to running stitch along this top edge. I will show you running stitch really quickly. The only problem is I will have to do this one-handed unless I figure out a jig. So, oh, that works good enough. So, how you want to do this is put your needle in. You also want to stitch the seam allowance down a little. And you probably want to stitch like 0.1, 0.2 centimeters from the edge. I didn't tie off the end. Okay, I've tied off the end now. So you want to take it in, stitch around 0.1, 0.2 centimeters from the edge. Take it, put it in, pull it out. Take it in. Oop. Put it in, pull it out, back and forth. Just this. Ooh. Over and over again. Now, where you actually want to start this stitch is not actually at this seam, unless you want this seam in the center front, or if you want your bow in the center back. But, okay, one other mistake I've made, technically, is right here, just pulling it out some to clip it. Right wherever you start, you want to leave a tiny bit of a tail, and you want to tie it so that it is on the outside of the garment. And I'll show you why in 1 second once I finish sewing around this edge. Okay, so I've stitched all around the edge, as you can see. I've already gathered it a little bit. This is where the drawstring is. Now I'm going to bring in my stand-in for your creature, your son, your child. This. This is slightly smaller than your guy. This is only about 8 centimeters instead of 9.5. But as you can see, I'm just going to slide this on. You can see sort of how it is going to look. You do need to move around the ruffles. I will do that right. Okay, as you can see, I've tied it in a little bow in the back technically, or the front if you want that to be the front. It depends on what you want to do for this design. But now you have the little teeny tiny bubble dress. Now the thing is here, you can either add on sleeves, you don't need to, you can also add in a belt, you can add in so much details, but I'm doing this as simple as I can. And how you want to do the sleeves is I'm going to pull out another thread real quick. Okay, yeah, I'm using this thread. And what you're going to want to do for the sleeves is you are just going to put it on your bear, figure out the exact placement you want, stitch it onto one side here. So let me do that real quick. Okay, as you can see, I just made a little knot on my thread and put it in there and stitched it a little. And then imagine there's shoulders. But you want to bring this up above wherever the shoulder is. Make it like snug enough. And then you want to just sew it and knot it in the back, which I will do real quick. So yeah, that's how you sew it. I will draw out some better little diagrams for the seam allowance. And if you have any questions, you can just ask me. It's pretty easy. Again, this gather thread on the top and these, what's the word for this? The shoulder straps should be embroidery thread. Just remember to like knot it off properly, or if the embroidery thread is too thick to sew through your fabric easily, or using some other cord, you can tie knots where it's supposed to sit on the inside. You can tie knots onto the thread, and then you can use a different thinner thread to actually sew it on. This is what it looks like. I messed up the bow in the back while I was sewing on the strap. Yeah, very cute. You can add on whatever you want. Hope you enjoy the pattern. Goodbye. Happy art fight.